Hello and welcome to The Reasons I'm Broke. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Daniel.
And welcome back to 2014. This is our first podcast of the new year.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be our biggest year yet.
Oh, I'm so excited. It's a very eventful year already.
It is. It's a good year.
It's like what, rained every day this year now?
Yeah, pretty much. Or snowed. Yeah.
Yep. What was it? Okay, I'm sorry. A bit of world news, which I found really fascinating. Canada was colder than Mars for a day. Did you hear about this?
No, I didn't.
There was a city in Canada 2-3 days ago, colder than Mars.
That's pretty insane.
Why aren't we living on Mars? If we can live in Canada, we can live on Mars, apparently.
There's always that misconception that Mars is really hot because of its color. Mm-hmm. It's actually really cold.
I say let's just move there. Get away from all these psychos.
Yeah, but as you continue to listen to the podcast every week, you're going to see that, especially me, I'm going to get extra sniffly because allergies and that's my kryptonite, whereas Superman's is Batman. It's just
that's his real
allergies,
kryptonite. And I'm sniffly because, I don't know, life hates me.
But for any new listeners out there, The Reasons I'm Broke, it is a show where we talk about comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. Later on, we always start off with some news, and we close out the show with everything that was in our pull list. Mm-hmm. Mostly Batman, mostly DC Comics.
There's things beyond Batman. There's other comics.
There's Pokemons we occasionally talk about.
What is the Superman? But we're going to jump into some news, guys. First, the Nintendo eShop was taken down due to traffic and for some maintenance. This delayed the release of Pokemon Bank, but the eShop is now back up, although some services like Pokemon Bank are still under repair.
Right, especially a company like Nintendo, they can't anticipate their fan base. Really, it's really difficult to actually maintain any servers, and it's expensive, and it's hard to get them back up. So when something like this happened, which, I mean, who couldn't have expected this? The PS4, their services went down on day one. Same with the Xbox One, those services were down for a couple of days. So something like this, where it's Pokemon, where everyone got I mean, did you see Nintendo sales during the holidays? Mm-mm. Everyone sold systems, right? PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo, actually, the Wii U started selling consoles.
Yay!
The 2DS and the 3DS, of course. Pokemon and Zelda were the two titles that were most picked up with the system, mainly Pokemon. So when you have a service like that, couple it up with the eShop, with the Pokemon Bank, and now with the eShop being connected to all the systems, all Nintendo consoles, it went down. People online are already complaining, like...
Nintendo is the one company you should not complain about. Really?
It's funny because they also have the whiniest fans out of all of them.
They do.
It's so ironic. And it's not like you can't play any more Pokemon X or Y because Pokemon Bank is down. You didn't even know Pokemon Bank existed like half a year ago. So it's like, how do you feel so entitled to the service that is free for the first 30 days that you don't have to use the game? I don't know. It's just one of those things. But it's still down, Pokemon Bank. So you can't transfer your 100 level Pokemon. Use the ones you have, the many other fucking ones.
Just stop cheating, guys. Just play the game right. I do want to throw out, while we are on the subject of Nintendo, though, people, of course, buying 2DSs, 3DSs, like we said. My brother had that glitch a while ago. You remember from his 2DS? I don't know if we talked about it. Where the buttons just stopped working.
Yeah.
Sent it back to Nintendo. They sent him a brand new one. So Nintendo's got great customer service. If something happens, don't complain. Just write Nintendo and they'll send you a new system.
So Pokemon Bank will hopefully go back up soon. We'll see. Probably by the next couple of podcasts. And I'll let you know which...
Who cares? I got my Lapras. I got my Pikachu. I'm going to go catch a Dratini. I don't need anything else. I'm done.
See, I got this awesome Obama Snow in my other game.
You got to take a picture with an Obama Snow in this game.
Yeah, that's true.
You could probably really ride an Obama Snow if you tried really hard.
That'd be awesome.
If you believed enough.
Next bit of news here, Arkham Origins. They were teasing some Arkham Origins, some Arkham something news. They didn't really specify what it was going to be.
We all knew.
Well, here's the thing. A lot of people thought it would be the next-gen Batman game. Which is interesting. There was a chance that it could have been that, but they hadn't even announced a story DLC yet, so that was more likely what it was going to be. And it turns out that's what it is. The first teaser was an invitation to the Humanitarian Awards hosted at Wayne Manor. We all made that connection, I think.
Here you go, humanitarian.
So it was only confirmed with a picture of the Humanitarian Award. and it's like a statue with a diamond being held in its hand, and then like a giant icicle fucking thing right behind it.
They couldn't be more subtle. I would have just left it as the humanitarian award poster. And those of you who were really fans, you knew who it was. And if you didn't, sucks for you.
Arkham City, the Mr. Freeze fight was voted as one of the best boss fights in all of video games. Good. So it makes sense that they would try to recreate it in some way, or even just bring back the character of Mr. Freeze. I'm hoping it's the same voice actor from Arkham City. And unfortunately, Paul Dini isn't writing this, so we can't see Heart of Ice. We can't play Heart of Ice, you know, like the animated series.
Nora.
We can't be a part of it, right? But I mean, just the fact that was the DLC, and they could have easily done just some whatever. Here's some extra missions, go do it. No, you're gonna go against Mr. Freeze for the first time, and you're Batman.
Exciting. We're gonna jump into some movies that we saw this past week. First was Saving Mr. Banks. For those of you who don't know, this is the Disney movie that came out that is telling the story of how Walt Disney came to own the rights to Mary Poppins and release that movie. I had heard a lot of things from friends. Oh, I cried through the whole movie. It was so sad. So that's what I went into this movie expecting. I don't know what you were expecting.
I wasn't expecting much because I only saw the one trailer that we saw in the theater. And I knew that this was going to be a more serious, a drama, but it ended up being a lot darker than what I expected. It
was, and I'm sure some of it was based off truth, and a whole bunch of it was very altered truth.
Especially the ending.
Yeah. But I thought it told a good story. I thought it was paced really well. I didn't cry through the whole thing, I think because I was expecting to cry through the whole thing. I was very sad, though.
That's the problem with expectations, is when someone tells you you're going to be whatever it is, you're just going to initially be like against it, like, nope, I'm not going to cry or whatever. So for me, Saving Mr. Banks, I didn't tear up. The casting of Colin Farrell was a little bit more distracting to me than anything else in the movie. I didn't see him as like an independent character, the father of the author of Mary Poppins. It was just, that's Colin Farrell right there. I'm expecting him to go to Bruges or throw some cards at Daredevil. It was just really distracting because I knew that was Colin Farrell. Same with Tom Hanks. It was Walt Disney. Some people got lost in the role. They thought he was like Walt Disney.
You know, asshole?
Well, he didn't have the cigarette at his side at all times.
That was great. I wish that's...
Because that was Walt Disney.
Yeah,
he fucking held a cigarette all the time. And, you know, it was still a good role. And it was a fun movie. Overall, I think I'm glad I saw it in theaters. I'm not going to be buying it. I didn't know about the original story, how the author actually cried at the premiere, after the premiere, because of how much she hated it.
Yeah.
And when she told Walt Disney, hey, here are some changes you need to make, no cartoon penguins and this, and this, Walt Disney, just without stopping to walk and talk to her, just continued walking and said, the ship has sailed. It is just like, man. And that doesn't happen in the movie.
No, she cries because she's letting go of the guilt she felt for her father. And yeah, no.
It's like, I understand it's a movie and you have to have like the resolution at some point, because that's most of the time that's the character development that you are going to see in a movie. Someone overcomes something, and that's what happened here. But really, it was Walt Disney overcame that
bitch.
Well, that problem in which now he can get more money off of Mary Poppins, which is what he wanted.
He made a lot of money off Mary Poppins. He's still making money off Mary Poppins. Even though he's dead, he personally is making money.
And he wanted to do even more movies, but after what happened with the first one, I don't blame her. She said, nope,
I don't blame her.
No more. She made more books, but she was just like, no more. We're not going to make any more movies.
They're really pushing Walt Disney, though. Have you seen that? There's just a movie called Walt coming out. Okay. I don't know. No, maybe it's called like Walt Before Mickey. There's something. They're really pushing Walt Disney.
Well, that's good for a Walt Disney fan like you.
I'm not a Walt Disney fan. I just kind of like the parks. Anyway, and Winnie the Pooh. And Beauty and the Beast. And most of the movies. Anyway, no, Danny, you're getting off subject. He looks like a villain in all the pictures of him, though. Have you ever noticed?
Yeah.
All of them. And then they released that villain pin series, you remember? And then they had Walt Disney in there with them.
Yeah, I forgot who the villains were. It was Chernabog, there was Captain Hook.
Ursula was in there.
And then Walt Disney in the same style as the rest of the pins. I'm like, he's a villain too.
Taking your
money. Watch out, Jews.
Overall, though, I thought it was a movie worth seeing. I don't regret seeing it.
And the other one we saw, a better film in my opinion, was American Hustle.
Yeah, that was a really good. That was a film that I had to get lost into.
Christian Bale, Amy Adams, they were both really good. Christian Bale especially, he gained 40 pounds for the role. This is a method actor, of course.
Man, he looked bad.
And he was always hunching over for the role and actually ended up herniating 2 of his discs because of it.
How much money did he get?
Oh,
Millions?
he got tons,
Worth
yeah.
it. Worth it.
And that's how he works, you know. Movie itself, it's interesting to watch because reading up on some of the background, I didn't know this going into it, but a lot of the scenes were actually improvised and written on the spot. So that one scene in which Christian Bale's arguing with his wife, I don't know her name, but she was in
Jennifer
Hunger
Lawrence?
Games. Yeah. That was all completely the 2 actors
Really?
going at it, yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's why one of the errors in the movie, when she mentions the book that she's learning from, that she had been reading, it's actually a book that released in 2004, so it's an error technically, because this is supposed to take place, in the 70s? Mm-hmm. So it's just one of those things that, but it's really interesting, and I thought that the whole movie, the pacing was great, the characters were all very fascinating, and it told a really good story, too.
It did. It had a great ending, and you were rooting for the bad guys and the good guys. And Louis C.K., man. Louis
Yes,
C.K.
Louis.
He came on the screen and you went, whoa! And then the people making out down the row probably looked over.
Even they stopped. Yeah.
And they're like, oh, Louis C.K.
But Louis C.K. had a great role in it.
Mm-hmm. He was so funny. We never got to finish his story.
No, we didn't.
That's all I was waiting for. That was great. Oh, I get it. He died. Well, yeah, but like years later.
Yeah, it was... Louis was really funny. For a guy that doesn't like being in those kind of roles, he really knocks it out of the park every time he's in them. Like, he's just really funny, and in this one he was serious, but also the guy that got picked on, but at the same time, you know, he's awkwardly funny, just like in Louis, in the actual TV show.
Oh, he's great. When's that show coming on again? Not soon enough.
Not this year, but next year.
Shit, really? 2015, Louis?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
He's making specials and making people laugh, Kelly.
Oh, he makes me laugh in his show, too.
But I like his specials more. Honestly, I laugh a lot harder on his specials. The asshole kiss. Mwah.
It's like your asshole just exploded.
That was a good one. So between the 2 American Hustles, the one we recommend.
Yep.
But they're both pretty good.
Forewarning, though, because Bobby pointed this out, there are no nip slips. Sorry, guys. That was Bobby's first comment. Walking
For American Hustle, yeah. He was waiting. And the next movie we're probably going to see will be Her on Friday. Mm-hmm. Joaquin Phoenix.
This Friday? Next Friday?
This
next
Friday. The coming Friday. I think it's the 11th.
Next up, Empire Magazine released Captain America's costume. Some pictures from Winter Soldier.
Yeah, there was Cap on the cover. There's 2 different covers for this magazine. You had Steve Rogers just with the Cap outfit, and there was another cover that had the Winter Soldier and Scarlett Johansson as well. So we finally got to see some stills, not just from the trailer. We were trying to pause the trailer, like, oh, that's kind of cool. Let me pause this and see the Winter Soldier. But there's actually stills from the movie, and I think the costume looks great. I think it's a big improvement from the Avengers, which, I mean, it's a thing like, yeah, you're complaining about the costumes, but the costume looked great in Captain America, the first movie, the first Avengers. And I've said this before, keeping that old costume in Avengers, not only did it look better than what they went with, and I forget who called it, I think it was Kotaku, Newsarama, one of them called it his figure skating outfit in Avengers, but it also would have symbolized a man out of time, because he has this armor, this clothing, that is from World War II. And to update it with what they did in Avengers, it was just... So they're going back to it in Winter Soldier, and they updated it a little bit. They changed it just a tiny bit. I think they made the colors a little bit brighter than what it was in Captain America. But I think it looks great. I think it's a great costume, and, you know, the movie itself also looks like a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It'll be, I don't know much about Winter Soldier, but I'm very excited to see this. I'm hoping for a lot of emotion and crying and angst.
You remember Bucky and Captain America?
Yes.
Because remember, he's like, go on without me, and Bucky's like, no, not without you! And they look at each other for like a second, and you're like, what's going on there?
And then he's like, I fell off a train.
Well, he's the Winter Soldier.
I know. Yeah. Oh, I know, Dan. Because he falls off the train into the winter.
Then becomes a soldier.
He was already a soldier.
Well, all right.
So now he's just a winter soldier.
Next bit of news here, we saw the Powerpuff Girls world premiere trailer.
I was not disappointed.
Good. It is going to be back on Cartoon Network.
Exciting.
It is very different than what it was, but the voice actors are the same. and it's got this new style to it. It's no longer a cartoon like you can see it on Netflix. It's streaming, but it's no longer a hand-drawn cartoon. It uses computers, but it's not CGI. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like reminds me of South Park in a way, because the different pieces are attached to like the hair and the clothing.
Almost.
It's a little hard to describe.
It's different. It reminded me more of an anime, sort of.
Okay.
Because when I heard you say 3D, I was thinking that art style that I don't like, that they use in everything. And I'm like, oh man, that's fucking terrible. Mm-hmm. But no, it looks really good. I'm excited. It seems like they kind of kept the same feel from the last show. And maybe they'll actually grow it up a little bit, because now all their viewers are, in their 20s.
True. Yeah, you can go on YouTube, check it out, type in Powerpuff Girls World Premiere Trailer.
Now on to some Marvel news. Marvel is no longer offering its single-issue comic books to retailers like Barnes & Noble and Books A Million. Marvel sees digital offerings as the future newsstand.
So those are apps like Comixology, the Marvel digital app as well.
They will still offer graphic novels from Marvel, but you won't be able to buy any single issues from them anymore. DC and indie publishers will still be available to these retailers.
It's interesting. It's a funny situation because they had the option of buying, like, okay, so we want 5 of Spider-Man, Superior Spider-Man, or we want 3 based on their sales from last month or whatever Barnes & Noble or these type of newsstands go with. But retailers like comic book shops, they buy them sometimes by the hundreds, especially a big book like Spider-Man or Batman. You're always going to have over 100 issues. Newsstands like these, you're not gonna hit the 100 issue mark. And that's probably why Marvel went, it's not really worth shipping or selling to these newsstands or these retailers. Instead, we're going to just fixate on digital and then the comic book shops, because that's still a really good option for comic book publishers. That's really good sales out of there. They sell the comics, the merchandise, the shirts, the statues, all that in one place. So that's still not going away. But they are seeing the comic book as the future.
I feel really sad, though, because there's that one little Jimmy somewhere where he only lives next to a Barnes & Noble. He lives in, like, Smallville or something. Mm-hmm. And there's only a Barnes & Noble, and he goes there every week to pick up his comic book. Now Jimmy can't get his comic book. He probably doesn't have Wi-Fi at his house either, okay? We're just throwing that out there.
Jimmy?
Little Jimmy.
Especially since you don't have Wi-Fi, but I'm still going to relay this message to you. Jimmy, you still have Batman books there. Batman's still there for you. Remember this.
Jimmy's crying right now.
I'm still here. You can find me at Books A Million, Barnes & Noble. Knocks him out.
You're too funny. I understand why they're making this move. I don't think it's smart. Really, how much does it cost them to ship out 5 books?
I guess they're just cutting their costs a little bit. They can't be... I don't know. I think they're almost breaking even when it comes to shipping and all that. Again, I don't agree either. But they are trying to focus in on, just digital, just the comic book shops. That's it. I don't know. We'll see.
I guess. I'm going to be really sad when it's all digital.
And it will eventually happen, I think.
We'll just kill ourselves then.
No reason to live, yeah.
We have to pull a Tommy Wiseau, though. We have to lay out all our comic books. Goodbye, world. We got to hump the comics a little bit.
I would struggle against that kind of change a little bit, but eventually I'd be like, if this is what it takes to read Batman, then so be it. I'll continue reading Batman, and it'll just have to be digital.
Just read fan fiction.
Or if trades are still available. Like, first digital first, and then eventually trade, I'd be like, I'll wait for the trade.
Okay, fine, maybe.
Next up, we're about to jump into some comic book news, and then eventually, right after that, we'll hit the comics, but Frank Miller's Detective Comics number 27 cover. People have been talking about this, and it almost wasn't available at some point, and then DC brought it back for solicitation. It is a spread cover with Catwoman, and it is, of course, drawn in his Frank Miller style, and people, I guess, are making fun of it or taking offense to it because it is kind of like a prostitute Catwoman type of thing, or the pose is a little provocative.
You know what? Batman likes that kind of thing. Just let Batman do what he wants.
Leave him alone.
You worry about yourself. People take offense to everything. I can see why they do, because it's Catwoman, she's got on fishnets, and it doesn't look like she has a shirt on.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't have a shirt on.
So people are doing the similar thing that they did with the Hawkeye Initiative, which I loved.
That was so funny.
If you can, go to Google, type in Hawkeye Initiative. What a bunch of different artists did is they took different poses, different comic book covers of like women where they're clearly like just being drawn there to entice the male reader, but they replace them with Hawkeye.
Well, and some of them are just in ridiculous poses, like that Mary Jane one.
Right.
Just things women can't even do. Why do men think we can do this? Because we can't.
That was the J. Scott Campbell cover.
We're not contortionists. We're humans.
But it's Hawkeye doing the same thing.
So funny.
So people, I saw 2 great pictures on it. It was from bleedingcool.com. One of which is Batman in that.
Is he wearing fishnets also?
All they did was replace the head. So and the
funny.
tail. It was like a battering up his ass or whatever. And then the other one was Frank Miller. They completely redrew Frank Miller in that pose, and he's like, they paid me thousands for this. So that's been going on. I think the cover it's a Frank Miller cover. What do you expect? How are you going to get mad at a Frank Miller cover? They probably, again, they're not buying it. Chances are they were never planning on buying the Frank Miller cover. And if they were, there's tons more. This Detective Comics number 27 comes with multiple covers.
Right.
Don't like it? Don't buy it. Easy enough.
People complain about, like, nothingness. People are always going to complain about how women are portrayed in comics. But they've always been portrayed that way. They will probably always be portrayed that way. So just stop it. You're just making yourself look bad.
Thankfully, it didn't spin out of control. DC just went, you know what, here, we're offering the comic, done. Instead of pulling it, in which, I don't know, could have been
more people
bringing more attention to it. I don't know.
People have been like, good. And other people have been like, why are you censoring art?
Both sides right there, laid out by Kelli.
Yeah. I'm a genius. I know everything.
And this week's comics are presented by MegaCon 2014.
MegaCon will be running March 21st through the 23rd. It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can check out more, see the guest list, and pick up tickets at megaconvention.com. MegaCon
is the biggest comic book convention in Florida. It is actually also our favorite, personal favorite. I've been to C2E2 in Chicago. I've been to Wizard World as well. Those are really good too, but MegaCon, this is the good one.
We save up all year to go to this place and then spend so much money because it's not just comic books. You have anime there, you have sci-fi, you have everything that you could possibly imagine. Hence the name Mega Convention.
And last year they had the 2 giant rooms, one of which was mainly for like Artist Alley, and they had a ton of merchandise, and the other one was for the comic books and the movies and everything. Great setup. I mean, you can easily get lost in there. There's just so much stuff to see, so much stuff to buy. The guest list is always the best there. Again, I went to C2E2. Sure, I saw some guests there that normally wouldn't go down to Florida or wouldn't go over to California or whatever. But here in Central Florida, you got Jimmy Palmiotti, who is a local, George Perez, and then you have the Greg Capullo. He came, 2 years ago?
2 years ago. Oh,
yeah,
that was great.
Big names like Greg Capullo there. And Stan Lee was there last year.
Last year, they actually had the whole Next Gen cast, too, from Star Trek. Mm-hmm. So you could pay obscene amounts of money and go and meet them all and get their pictures. And, oh, man, I so wanted to do that. But this is the reasons I'm broke. And kind of got broke before that.
MegaCon 2014 recently added Stephen Yeun, known to most as Glenn from The Walking Dead, but known to us as Avatar Wan in The Legend of Korra.
Ooh, Avatar Wan.
The best episode of Season 2.
Amazing.
Get your Legend of Korra signed. Once again, tickets available at megaconvention.com.
They've also added Arnie Starr. He is a multi-talented artist. He has recently acted in the Hollywood blockbusters such as 2009 Star Trek and the hit TV series CSI. Arnie's comic book work includes Power Girl and Crisis on Infinite Worlds for DC Comics.
We will continue to update you as we reach, once again, the date, March 21st through the 23rd.
Cannot come here soon enough.
Kelli and I will definitely be there, and we hope to see you there. With that, we can jump right into comics. We're going to kick it off with Indie.
Yep, we have Rocket Girl number 3. This one's written by Brandon Montclair with art by Amy Reeder. Do we end up in the future in the first part? I was kind of confused. I feel like we haven't seen this comic in a while.
Yeah, the holidays really blew. It made it seem like these comics hadn't been out in quite some time.
I think the holidays lasted 4 months. That's how long it felt. Like, literally.
Just a violent blur.
Ugh. Did I drink? How am I still alive? I don't
So
know.
much eggnog. What happened?
It's my hair.
So yeah, Rocket Girl number 3. This is an interesting issue. You jump from the past to the future. You see how she ended up in the past, and you see exactly who was going after Rocket Girl.
Yeah, things just got really convoluted. Kind of a twist that I didn't see that I should have expected. But it's so cool to see her in action, too. I'm finally getting the feeling that she really is a cop. Because they keep saying kid cop, and I'm like, yeah, but she's just 15. What are they doing playing dress up in the future? They're so silly. But I get the feel that she's a cop, that she's trained for this. You know, she's a detective. She's going to get done what needs to be done. And she's really smart for a 15-year-old.
And Amy Reeder is just impressing me as an artist. Every issue, it's just like an awesome brand new shot that I hadn't seen that you can do with characters like this that have a jetpack. And you're flying through the city, the action scene, she's being thrown from one side of the room to the other. And it's just, the art is really good, the story's compelling, and I feel like more people should be picking up Rocket Girl.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I agree 100%. It is great. It's kept me captivated the whole time. I think we have a great cast of characters. You know, I really want to see her boyfriend from the future. I'm like, when's this love story going to pop up? But for another time, I guess. But even when she's here in the past in 86 or whenever it is, you know, you have the lady with the pink hair and all these crazy weirdos, the guy singing, "It's the final countdown" out the window. That was so cool. I had to stop and sing that song. I sang along with the doo-doo-doo-doos. I did.
This is another example of a great crowdfunded book. Mm-hmm. Again, Rocket Girl. I think you're going to see more and more of these books funded by fans that eventually make it into comic book retail places that actually do have great stories that otherwise probably in the 90s we never would have seen or heard.
Right.
Next is Adventures of Superman number 8. It's written by Mark Guggenheim with art by Joe Bennett and Bellardino Bravo.
Oh, Superman. What trouble are you getting into this time?
I don't know. Let's find out.
This was kind of a sad issue. It's made up of one story. Mm-hmm. And it's the scientist runs up to Superman and he's like, holy shit, Krypton's still alive. You better fly back there. And he's like, oh man, Krypton's still alive. And he goes back to Krypton.
You see it right on the cover. It's Superman all surprised and he sees his father, Jor-El, tied up as a prisoner style. And honestly, this probably is my favorite Adventures of Superman thus far.
Really?
As soon as I finished reading this, I went on Twitter, I hunted down Mark Guggenheim. I was like, I've never felt sympathy for Superman like I have after reading this story. And it's true, because at the very end of it, like, everything is a mystery up to this point. And then, okay, this is the big reveal. Here's how they explain everything. Okay, whatever. Like, it's a comic book story. He has to put a stop to it. Yeah, I get it. It's standard. But at the very end of it, you're left with this message of Superman where now he truly understands what a loss Krypton was to him. Because before, he didn't know Krypton. It's just that message that he got from his father or the other Kryptonians that visited. That's all the information he has. But now that he's actually been in Krypton, he knows exactly what he's missed. And Mark puts it so wonderfully at the end when Superman says that the tears that he sheds now aren't because of the loss that he feels like he should have had, but now for like the life he's actually lost because he was in Krypton. He was a Kryptonian with everyone. It's just powerful.
I think the exact the quote was, "These tears aren't for what I thought I lost. They're for what I know is gone."
Yeah.
Because he knows it's gone now.
But this was a really, really strong issue.
It was.
It was up there for pick of the week, but it's not pick of the week.
Oh, I didn't even pick my pick of the week. Got my pick of the week. Okay, we can continue now. I have done what I needed to do. I am satisfied. So we may continue.
Here at The Reasons I'm Broke, we are always prepared.
Preparation? What is this? Is that like the deodorant you put on?
Next is Batman the Dark Knight number 26, written by Greg Hurwitz, art by Alex Maleev.
This was a really great one too, another silent issue.
Yeah, because every year there's always a silent issue now. I guess that's really good.
It wasn't nearly as strong as the previous one.
No.
After the death of Damien.
Right.
But this was a really good one. Deals with immigration and a lot of pain. I felt the pain for these characters that I didn't know their names at all. I didn't really, you kind of got their background, but
Yeah.
just watching their story, and then Batman's awesome. Finds Granny dead and, like, just saves everybody.
Yeah, this is, like you said, it's a story about immigration and immigrants and how immigrants would be treated in a city like Gotham. In a city like Gotham, you are going to be put through some trials, but then you have someone like Batman, someone like Bruce Wayne who would stand up for or would try to help out the working class or the immigrant that's trying to make it in his city, and he wants to protect all his people. It doesn't matter where they came from. If they're Gothamites, that's what he's going to watch over them, and he won't let crime stand, and he won't let anything hurt anyone like he was hurt when he was a child. And you get all of that in this story that has no words. It's all art. It's all just pictures, just
Very
like that
interesting
Damien story.
art, too. Very interesting art. I enjoyed it a lot. This is a two-parter, too, so I'm hoping they continue with that no words, but still very impactful in next month's issue.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Next, we have Damien, Son of Batman, number 3 of 4. This is written and drawn by Andy Kubert. I cried.
You did.
I cried. And I cried. And I cried a little bit more. And then we had to go and watch Mask of the Phantasm, and I almost cried again.
Damien, Son of Batman. We all can kind of accept that Batman is a little nuts. He's a little crazy.
Yeah.
And we see Damien's fall into insanity in this issue.
I think he's way more nuts than Batman ever was.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure he's more nuts.
Batman's still like, everyone will reach a point in which they'll give up doing the Batman thing. I don't think Bruce will ever get there. He's always gonna think he can put a stop to crime, and he will.
You know, Dan, if you could put on that costume and get any lady you wanted, would you give that up too?
That's Batman's main incentive.
Yeah. He's like, I need some. Puts on his costume, and they just flock to him. He can't help it. But we see in the beginning, Alfred is fishing Damien out of
Gotham Harbor.
somewhere nasty.
Yeah.
Taking him back to stitch up his wounds. And then tragedy strikes. You can tell them.
Well, I'm not going to spoil this part of the issue because, I don't want to spoil the whole story.
Okay.
But at the end of the issue, you do see the return of a villain, but it's reinvented. It's almost like a future, almost like I don't want to compare it to Batman Beyond, but the Joker's not really alive anymore, so obviously something else will come and take its place to challenge the new Batman, the new generation. Then that's what you get at the end of the story. But the art is amazing. I think the story is still very interesting, especially with what they did with Damien after he was fished out of the harbor, and what they did with Alfred, because they told so much of Alfred's story and pretty much laid out all of his actions and what he really would do. And he's always going to be the family caretaker, and he will never give that job up. And you saw that in the animated series. Except in the animated series, he went to Cambodia and
Yeah, he had to pick up some hoes in Cambodia and just live out the rest of his 500 years over there.
It's not like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini said that he went off to see his kid's graduation in Europe and never returned.
Because he stopped in Cambodia and picked up some hoes. He found a little Lazarus Pit spa, and he's just chilling, drinking some mojitos. I don't know. I did like in this one, though, we're beginning to see a change in Damien.
Yeah.
You know, in the first few issues, he was just going around killing people. And now he's coming to realize, I can't do this anymore if I'm going to be Batman. And I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next one. He may have to give up the standard that he's
set for himself. There were some moments where I did see him as Batman, though. Just for a couple of moments where I'm like, that's what a Batman would do.
No, okay, this is bad of me. And I know they wanted to give him a new costume, but I kind of see him as the poor man's Batman costume.
Because of the trench coat?
Yeah. Just tied with a little belt. I'm like, you can't get a cape. You can't get some Kevlar. I mean, come on.
There was the one scene where he's gliding into the train, and you see the cape spread out, and then the next scene is kicking the guy in the face, but the cape is back tucked into his belt. So I'm like, did he just quickly put it back on? Or
he's like, oh, my belt flew off. Oh, shit.
Better kick this guy now.
Probably.
So it was good.
It was great.
Next is my pick of the week.
Mine too.
Forever Evil number 4 of 7, written by Jeff Johns, art by David Finch and Richard Freend.
Good job, Jeff Johns. Did your job. Amazing. It opened with something I was excited for. Batman takes Catwoman to the Batcave. So excited because that means they're in love. They're in love, Dan.
No,
Dan,
they're not.
Dan, they're in love.
And this issue was actually one that came out before last week. So
Yes.
what we did is we combined this week's issues with the one from the holidays. Because it was only, I think we only got 2 books that week. So we're like, let's just combine it and talk about it. But we still counted it as our pick of the week.
Yep.
For everyone number 4.
Pick of the last 2 weeks. Let's just throw that out there.
It's a good issue.
Pick of the 2 weeks. It was great. Don't want to give too much away. You want to give the ending away. Go ahead and give the ending away.
I really want to, yeah. Because
okay.
this
It's
issue's
been
a
2
couple,
weeks.
yeah, it's a sufficient time if you hadn't read this. So, first off, the part that I liked the most, easily, Lex Luthor with Bizarro. Mm-hmm. This is a moment that I wasn't expecting and I wasn't prepared for because he's with these other villains. So you're just like, okay, so he's playing the leader. He's understanding. He has a plan. He's going to take down Ultraman. He's using his hate for Superman and putting it towards this plan against Ultraman. But then you have this moment in which Bizarro is afraid of the dark. And like a child, Lex Luthor takes care of him. And he gives him a story, a heartfelt story where you're like, holy shit, Luthor. This is where I did tear up. Like you did there in Damien. And I was just like, it's so heartfelt. And to see that from Luthor, this compassion for, yeah, it's his creation, but it's also not what he wanted or expected, but he still takes care of it. And he sympathizes with Bizarro. And so do we. You know, he tells this story from his background, and maybe he was lying. It is Lex Luthor, but you do believe that he wants to help out Bizarro. And it's just so good. And that would have been my favorite part of the book. Then we get to later on, Batman, like in Justice League Doom, like in Tower of Babel, he has a contingency plan for the Justice League should they ever go rogue.
Which we did see we've seen all throughout this comic in the Justice League. We did see, because remember...
He has this little box.
What's her little name? Atomica. Mm-hmm. She goes in and they have this huge conspiracy. Oh man, somebody broke in and took some of my kryptonite. And we find out later it was Atomica. You remember?
Yeah, and put
all
it
this
in,
stuff.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we've seen this up to now. Now he takes Catwoman in there and says, I get to use these to take down these other guys.
Yeah, he has the kryptonite for Ultraman, which I don't know if he knows yet that that's actually what powers him up.
Oh, I'm sure he knows. He's Batman. He knew, like, Ultraman stepped through the portal, and Batman's like, he uses kryptonite. I already knew.
And he also has a Sinestro Corps ring that he would use on Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, if he were to go rogue. But instead, he plans on using it on Power Ring.
Yeah, so cool.
And sure enough, Power Ring runs into Batman and Catwoman, says, beware my power. And off the fucking panel, you hear, no, beware my power.
And you turn the page and...
Sinestro Corps Batman.
Woo!
I was like, oh shit, it's on now. And this would have been my favorite part of the comic. But then there's an even better part. Like, this comic tops itself 3 times. It's amazing. Batman is defeated, actually. Because he only has so much power in the ring.
No. He tricks Power Ring into thinking he's defeated to serve a greater purpose later. I already told you why he did it.
Well, anyway, this Sinestro Corps ring only has so much energy in it. He's obviously not a Sinestro Corps member, so he can't just recharge its battery anytime, or his ring anytime. So he figures like he has enough to hold off Power Ring or defeat Power Ring or whatever. Doesn't happen, and Power Ring is gloating with the Sinestro Corps ring in hand because he takes it off of Batman, and he crushes it and he says, you think yellow power, you think fear can hurt me?
And what happens, Danny? Read the quote. Oh, he's so excited. You'd think it was Christmas or something. You should see his little face. He's going through his comic books, laying on his stomach, kicking his little feet.
A yellow ring cannot hurt you. Turn the page. I beg to differ, my friend.
And what is it?
Sinestro.
Naked. Naked Sinestro's back! Okay, he's not naked, but it is Sinestro. Motherfucking Sinestro.
Not Parallax Sinestro. Sinestro. Yeah, but he has the power of Parallax, but it's Sinestro. He's in control.
Parallax has the power of Sinestro. So you have Batman and Sinestro in the same comic, like 2 pages apart.
Boom. And he saved Batman, and he's back. We hadn't seen him since, I don't count the Villain Month appearance.
No, that doesn't count.
Hadn't seen him since the end of Jeff Johns' run on Green Lantern, which was his little Sinestro hand. which was one of the best comics of 2013. I think it was my second favorite book.
Yeah.
And here he finally makes his appearance, grand fashion, saving Batman.
Amazing.
And it's just my my two favorite characters that are not Batman. Let's face it, Ra's al Ghul, Mr. Freeze, all that. Fucking Sinestro.
And
with Batman.
You went from a little Sinestro hand to a powerful Sinestro body.
Powerful Sinestro man.
It was great. It, like you said, it topped itself. It was this, for me, this comic just built up and up and up because we started with Catwoman and Batman. And yeah, she hit on him and he said no, but he really said yes with his eyes and his body. He said yes.
Right.
And then we have that great Lex Luthor moment, which, and I want to jump back to that. We kind of see the beginning of Bizarro. Yeah, he was Bizarro, but he was really B-Zero was his name.
The project name, right.
Project name was B-Zero. And the first time we hear Bizarro speak, he tries to pronounce B-Zero, which is his name, and it turns into Bizarro, which I thought was great. And then we have Batman being amazing and being a Yellow Lantern. And then we have Sinestro.
You weren't as excited, though, were you?
No, I was more excited for Batman and Catwoman and him saying yes with his eyes.
Did you expect Sinestro at the
No.
very end of it? No.
I was like, who else has a yellow ring? What? Sinestro's just, I was still thinking of him as old man hand Sinestro. I don't know.
Because we're in the future?
I guess. Or I'm figuring he's off, like, in Cambodia with Alfred, chilling in the Lazarus pit, sipping mojitos. I don't know.
And you turn the page and it's fucking Sinestro, and I can't wait. I really can't wait.
Sinestro would have a pineapple mojito.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Because it's yellow.
I tweeted Jeff Johns. I was like...
I came everywhere.
And he favorited it and said thank you.
We're going out next Friday.
So it just made me so happy to see Jeff Johns writing for Sinestro again. And more importantly, hopefully in Forever Evil #5, we'll see the interaction between Batman and Sinestro.
Oh, I'm sure we will. It'll be great.
Pick of the week.
Pick a 2 weeks, please.
Yeah.
Pick of 2014 thus far. Next, we have a comic that's winding down. Green Team Teen Trillionaires #7, written by Art Baltazar and Franco, with art by Ig Guara and J.P. Mayer. I get the feeling that we're winding down, and that bothers me.
Yeah, I hate that too. And last time we got this was from Sword of Amethyst. Sword of Sorcery Amethyst, yeah. And even that, when we were reading it, we knew, like, oh, shit.
You guys gave up.
Like, they're just trying to tell the quick story and finish it up. And here, though, I don't think it's being done as smoothly as it was back then in Sword of Sorcery. Green Team Teen Trillionaires reintroduces all the characters that we have seen thus far and just puts them at the end of the book. And now they're going to have, I guess, a big fight.
Yeah,
and that'll be the end.
They all have powers.
Everyone has powers now, and they all know how to use it.
Here's my powers. Oh, know how to use it. Oop, I can do this now. I'm like, how did that happen?
And they're in love, and they're still in love, and they're no longer broken up, and they're good now.
And we're kissing, and we're kissing, and they're making out, and the flamboyant guy's got a feather boa still. I don't know. Yeah, they're trying to throw everything into the end. And I get that when you're a writer, you go in and you have this great story, and you want to share that with your audiences because you've put so much time and love into it. But I feel that, you know, with comics, things are always changing, and you need to adapt to what you're given and not just go, let's throw everything into one. You need to say, how can we round this out smoothly and still tell a good story? It wasn't the story that we wanted to tell, but we deserve, we owe it to our readers to give them a good story.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. It is my pass of the week, and you especially liked the Teen Trillionaires way more than I did.
This was one of my favorite comics for a while. Really excited to see it come about, which is odd for me because I typically don't like Art and Franco's comics as much as you do.
Yeah, I love Superman Family Adventures. I thought that was awesome. And Tiny Titans, of course.
Right. But, it is unfortunate that it has to end this way. It's got, one more issue?
Yep.
And so we'll stick it out for this last one. I don't have high hopes. So
I never saw that crossover with the movement.
Yeah, I know. My pass of the week as well.
Next is Justice League number 26, written by Jeff Johns, art by Ivan Reis and Joe Prado.
Good job, Jeff Johns, kicking ass in the comic world.
Between these two, between Forever Evil and Justice League, I would read Justice League before Forever Evil, because I feel like to better understand Power Ring You should read the Justice League book.
You're getting to see the Grid, which was the other half of Cyborg that ripped himself out.
Violently, yeah, that was insane.
That was disgusting. And he says, and this I didn't really like the explanation. He separated himself, and now he's trying to feel.
Right.
Which is why he's destroying things, because he wants to feel remorse, and he wants to feel
sadness
regret, or he wants to feel anger, and he can't feel any of those things. So he dives into the hidden files of the Justice Lord, the crime syndicate, to find out their backgrounds, to see if he can feel anything from those, and ultimately he doesn't. But we do get to see a lot from each of these other characters.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessary if you want to read Just Forever Evil, but it was a good tie-in.
Yeah. Finally, we have Superman Unchained, number 5. This one's written by Scott Snyder with art by Jim Lee, Scott Williams, and Dustin Nguyen. He always gets his theme song, you know that.
Yeah, he does. You're right.
Hey, Dustin Nguyen, you should come to MegaCon.
Oh, that'd be so great.
I would lose my mind.
I mean, he'll be there. Go to megaconvention.com.
My mind would go... I would be waiting in line now for March 21st to see Dustin Nguyen.
That'd be so great. Like, that's pretty much all we'd be just at the booth.
I would just stare at him like you did with Darwin Cook.
Yeah.
Remember you met him and he was so creeped out. He's like, "Can I help you with something?" You're like, "No, just watching."
He was working. He was drawing
Catwoman,
and you're seeing fucking Darwin Cook draw Catwoman. He's just like, "It's $400 in case you want one of these." He's like, "I know it's a lot, but..." He might as well have said, "But I'm Darwin Cook."
You should have said that. Would have been great.
Like, oh man, that's so fucking good. Like, it was just, you're watching one of your favorite artists work, and I don't know. I mean,
I would do that with Dustin Nguyen. Yeah. I'd be like, "I'm just gonna sit on this table, okay? I'm just gonna sit here for a while."
So Superman Unchained number 5. I think this, we'll touch on it later, but it had a better Superman Loves Batman moment, I think.
Oh, okay.
So for this one, you do see more of Wraith and Superman interacting and kind of having a little debate as to Superman's role on Earth compared to what Wraith wants to do with the universe and the world. And what's interesting with this organization, with the Superman Unchained villains, is that they actually want to bring Earth back and regress all of humanity, technology, evolution back to before humans were helped by an alien race or whatever. It's one of those like fucking ancient alien type of storylines, I guess, where aliens gave humans technology and that's why we are the way we are today or whatever. So they want none of that. They just want humans to progress and evolve by themselves.
Why don't they team up with Wraith?
They should. That's true. I never thought of that.
Because Wraith would be like, "You're all fucking idiots.
This is how we're going to do it."
Yeah. And then Batman would stop them.
Hopefully we won't be stopped by the detective.
It's not that I left him a note or anything. "Detective, I'm going to take over the world. XOXO, Wraith."
Now let's solve this mystery together.
"Oh, you stopped me."
"Oh, I escaped. Time to do this again next time.
See you next week."
So that's what the main plot is, and they're gonna do this with these crystals that they've been keeping and harboring and developing and knowing how to use, to essentially, I guess, take away all this technology and go back in time and kind of undo this. It's an interesting, kind of weird storyline,
it's weird,
but it's still good. But here's where the Superman Loves Batman moment comes in.
All right, let's hear it.
At the very end, right? Wraith has him at gunpoint. Probably a weapon that can hurt Superman because it's Wraith. He knows so much about Superman, way more than he lets on. And at the same time, Lois Lane is dealing with, the villains and blah, blah, blah. So Superman is potentially going to be hurt and he wants to stop Wraith and wants to figure out everything. In comes this call from Batman.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Okay, yeah.
In comes this call from Batman, who's immediately like, "Superman, we need you." And immediately, Superman ignores Wraith, ignores every fucking thing that's going on, and just 100% attention to Batman. Like, "Yeah, what do you need?" He's immediately like so ready to just fly out of that fucking place. Like, "Yeah, Wraith, whatever." Slap his gun down and run out. "Batman needs me." And Batman says,
Batman needs me.
yeah, you're right. It is much different inflection. So that was the Superman loves Batman moment of the week. Because he's looking at the hologram, like watching Batman. Wraith, meanwhile, like I just imagine Wraith in the background, like, what's going on?
Who is this man? His gun drops down a little bit, like, oh.
And his other gun goes up.
Well, then this definitely calls for another Superman and Wraith love Batman moment.
That's what it is this week, right?
Play the song.
I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound.
That was a very good moment, though. I will give you that.
Yeah.
You're so funny. He needs to pull, like, if he gets shot, pull a beast and be like, at least I got to see him one last time. And Batman goes, stop being dramatic.
Get up. There's work to do.
Oh, okay.
So the pick of the week for both of us ended up being Forever Evil number 4 of 7.
And the pass of the week for both of us was Green Team Teen Trillionaires number 7. I believe this is the first time we've ever agreed on both.
It might be. Yeah.
Miracles of 2014.
Right.
Will never happen again.
That will do it for this week, though. You can find us on Twitter. Let us know what made you broke this week at #ReasonsI'mBroke. #ReasonsI'mBroke.
Make sure if you're listening to us on iTunes that you rate and comment. Leave us a review. It helps other people find us.
Don't forget to find us on YouTube as well. We do a couple of unboxing videos on there, but we also upload the podcast to YouTube. Make sure to subscribe.
And if you don't have iTunes, you can listen to us through IPP Podcast through your Android phone.
Another Android application that is awesome. We are now on Stitcher. Go ahead and go on Google Play, search Stitcher, download the app. You can find The Reasons I'm Broke on there and listen to us through your favorite mobile device.
But thank you guys so much for listening in and for joining us in 2014. Like we said, this is going to be a great year. A lot of stuff going on, and we're excited to have you with us.
Thank you for listening. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli.
See you next week.
So bad. I gotta pee.